Hello, friends. Before we start today's fun episode of the podcast, I wanted to give a quick shout out to some of my awesome patrons on Patreon. Specifically, the amazing Jolene K, Simon Holes, Alyssa JC, Richard Bowles, Scott Bowles, Lisa Shallett, my amazing and hilarious mother Elaine Lent and stepdad Bruce Lent, love you guys, Sean Patrick Murphy, Debbie Pollock, and my awesome super brilliant brother Dr. Dale Sherrill. I sincerely thank you for your love and support. And for you other slackers out there listening, head over to patreon.com/Moonbird and please show your support for the show. As I always say, even $1 helps us keep the lights on. Let's have some fun with no further ado. Welcome to the Memories of a Moonbird podcast, exploring life one story at a time. Hello friends, I'm Daniel Sherrill. Today on the show, he's a gentle giant with a wonderfully dry sense of humor and a rich, booming voice as smooth as they come. Over the last 20 years, he's shared the screen with a multitude of actors like Ryan Reynolds and Adam Sandler in movies like Deadpool and Anger Management. He's also very well known for playing Bosun in Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. But he's not just another pretty face. As a voiceover artist, he's had the pleasure of bringing his incredible talents to more than 60 video games like World of Warcraft, Transformers, Half-Life, Halo, Street Fighter, and is the voice of Thanos in the Marvel video games and the Marvel television series Avengers Assemble and Guardians of the Galaxy. He's also a really nice person to sit and have lunch with, if I do say so myself. So please welcome my friend, Isaac Charles Singleton Jr. Isaac, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to see you.
Nice seeing you also.
Well, let's jump right in. Tell the fine folks where you were born and raised.
Well, I was born in the state of Florida, a city called Melbourne, but I was raised on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean because my father got into the Air Force when I was about 8, and we started traveling. So we lived in Texas, we lived in Tennessee, we lived in Germany, graduated high school in Germany, and I went to college in Tallahassee and finished college in Orlando.
Wow.
So yeah, I've been around.
Well, what was it like living over there in Bitburg, Germany?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I feel like my life really began when we moved over there. We moved over there when I was going to my 11th grade year of high school. I got a chance to see things that I only read about in books. Luxembourg wasn't too far away from where we lived. Belgium wasn't too far away from where we lived. We lived about 20 kilometers from the oldest city in Germany called Trier. We just had a great time over there. Plus, I got to see other countries, like got to see Austria. I got to see Spain, France. I just went all over the place. I had a lot of fun. A lot of times, Switzerland.
Well, it's interesting because when most kids are staying in their own country at that age, you moved overseas and were opened up to a whole international community at such a young age. So I'm curious, what kind of effect do you think that had on you looking back now?
I think it made me more open to cultures, societies, and other people that don't live exactly the same way that I do. It made me open to other people's ideals, understand that they're just because they might do something different than I do, it doesn't mean it's the wrong way to do it because it still gets the job done. It opens a lot of philosophy. I don't have any of that xenophobia that a lot of people in the United States have who've never left the country or never even been around somebody who's different than them as far as race or whatever is concerned, religion or anything else.
Well, I know you've probably been asked this before, but since you're 6'5" and you're just a big dude, I'm curious, are you the tallest person in your family?
I am, yes. My father's 6'3". My brother's about 6'3.5", maybe 6'4". But yeah, but I also have I got some muscle on me too. So I weigh 290 something pounds also. So, yeah.
Well, I'm curious, has anybody actually ever messed with you?
Not really. Not since 4th grade. Nothing. No. No.
I'm also very curious. Are there any downsides to being such a tall person? Because, I'm only 5'7", so I shouldn't say only. I think I'm pretty cool. But do you have to get, clothing special ordered or shoes special ordered? Is it hard to find stuff in your size?
Some companies make things in my size, but I have to get my suits tailor made because they don't make athletic cut suits anymore. Because if I go to a store and I buy a suit that fits me in the shoulders, it's going to have a large belly because I think it's a big, heavy set man. Yeah. So, it's got to be wider shoulders with a smaller waist for me. I go into shoe stores. I wear size 14 or size 15, depending on who makes the shoe. Unfortunately, a lot of companies don't go above 14 or 15 when they make their shoes. Sometimes they only go to 13. So that's the only negative I can say about it. But I like being this size. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. Yeah, I could be your size at one point.
You were 5'7"?
I was once.
For like 5 minutes, right?
It was 8th grade.
That's hilarious. Were there any particular experiences growing up for you that made you want to work in the arts or as an actor?
Okay, I did do public speaking since I was in ninth grade. I also did play when I was in eighth grade, but I never thought of it as a career until I got my sophomore year of college. And then God told me some signs. He told me that I was supposed to be an actor. I said, okay, God, I'll be an actor. Transferred to university, changed my major, and that's what I've been going after ever since.
That's really cool. What do you like most about being an actor?
What I like most about being an actor is I like to see a character on the page and bring it to life out there on the screen. That's what I love about it.
Yeah.
I like it because I know that what the writer has written, I know what that character is supposed to be. And I like bringing it to life and making it real.
Is there any aspect of acting that's challenging for you?
Challenging? You know, if given enough time, I can really get the character down. But sometimes if it's like overnight real quick, you got to get it out there. I feel like you want to really breathe with the words. And if you're too busy trying to memorize those words and say them the way you want to say them, but also not miss a word because writers love what they've written. So, sometimes if it's long enough time, yeah, you can get the words down. But sometimes if it's just too short, you can get it down. But at the same time, you don't really get to be the character the way you want to be as long and use it and breathe it and really know it and become it and to have the words flow out of you easily. I think that's one of the most challenging things, in my opinion, as far as that's concerned, is getting the dialogue down correctly if you don't have a lot of time to do it.
What was your first professional job as an actor?
One of the first things I remember is I got my SAG card. This is how I got my SAG card. I was living in Orlando and I got hired to play a chief of an African tribe called War of Tarzan. They were doing a TV series called Tarzan down there in Orlando back in the mid 90s, early 90s. And I got hired to be like the chief of this tribe. And, Tarzan's walking along with this guy and we all come out of the woods with our weapons drawn. And the little guy that's with him, the comic relief guy on the show, is all scared because he knows our tribe and he's worried that we might be headhunters or something. Anyway, we make it look all intense and scary for him, but Tarzan's a friend of ours. And we go back to the village and have dinner with him and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but that was my first job. I can remember it was on Tarzan. I got my SAG eligibility and I went and paid my SAG dues immediately because I knew I was going to be a professional actor. So that's one of my first things I can remember. But I did voiceovers when I was in college and things like that. They paid me for every once in a while too. But yeah, my first on-screen professional gig as a SAG actor was that.
That's cool.
Yes.
Today, if you had to choose only one thing, would you prefer being on screen as yourself or in prosthetics as you've done many times or in voiceovers?
I enjoy being me. I like for my face to be seen because, the more your face is seen, the better chances you have of getting more work in the future. And I do like being on a set because I feel like I'm at home there because everything you need is on a set. I got a place I can go lay down and sleep if I want to. If I can go eat, there's a bathroom there. And if I want to leave my room and go and have conversation with others just to have camaraderie, I can do that. And I can go back to my trailer or my room and it's my little sanctuary before the next scene is set up or the next shot is done.
And you get to be involved in the family dynamic of creating a cool story, hopefully, Oh,
definitely. That's what's the great thing about it, collaboration with everybody.
Yeah. Well, you've worked on some very famous projects, obviously. Do you have a favorite one?
Well, it's almost like people say you don't have a favorite child.
Well, some do.
Yeah, well, but I would say this. I really enjoyed Pirates of the Caribbean because that was one of the first films I did where I was actually one of the major leads in it. And also you can see my face. I did a lot of things all throughout the movie. It wasn't like I was just a bit part, came in, did something and left. So I remember that. But also when I first moved here, I did a show called Arliss too. And that was on HBO and had Robert Wall in it. And he was an agent to sports figures, professional athletes.
I remember, yeah.
And he had to be like their babysitter in many cases because some of them couldn't manage their own lives. But anyway, I was playing a character that was a basketball player named Greg Whitaker. But the rub was he was like a lot of not comedians, or a lot of those. You see a game, and after the game was over, they interviewed the guy who made the winning shot or whatever. And a lot of times he's just you're not inarticulate at all. You can't understand what he's saying. And so they tried to script this character. They couldn't script it. So they said, okay, we want you to just tell us a story. We want to understand what you're saying, but not understand what you're saying at the same time. And so I had to make up a story right there on the spot. And when I got home, the wardrobe department had already called me from agent asking me for my sizes. So I'm like, okay, great. I guess I got that one. So yeah, that was a fun time to do that show because it was really funny because when Greg Whitaker spoke, you didn't understand what he was saying, except when he said, you know what I'm saying? So that was really funny.
Well, in your many years here, over 20 years now in the business, how has it changed since you started until today?
Well, the changing is, from the beginning, when you used to go and audition for something, you go to an casting office. There's a casting director there, a casting associate there. You read right there with them. They have the camera on, and you do that. Well, now it's changed to where a lot of casting directors are just saying, "Hey, just send a self-tape in." This is happening before the COVID was happening, where they want you to go to some office or pay somebody somewhere else to record your audition and then send it in to them. And, I think it's better whenever the actor actually goes into the room with the casting director and they get an essence of what they are like and who they are. And then you can then audition right there in front of them. And they can talk to you can talk to them, talk about the project and get a more of a feel of it. But this way, you're kind of just getting some sides through the computer.
So there's like a little bit of a detachment from the actual people making the decisions for you.
In many ways, yeah. But, I'm just saying that's one of the biggest changes I've noticed for sure.
Well, you've traveled quite extensively for your career. And I'm just curious, do you have a favorite place that the entertainment business has taken you over the years?
Now, the entertainment business has taken me. I've gone some really cool places. I've been to Haiti. I went to St. Vincent and Grenadine Islands. I've been to Canada. I've been to a lot of places. And a lot of them all have little spots in my heart that I enjoyed. But traveling outside the film industry, I went to Rome once, and that's so far as my most favorite city in the world I've ever visited.
How was the food?
It was great. Everything was great. The culture, the food, the sights, the history, because I love history.
Me too.
So, they've got ruins that are thousands of years old, standing next door to a building that's modern right there next to you. I love that. They don't tear the old stuff down. They've got all this history there. I really think that's great about it.
The entertainment business can be very difficult, obviously. And I'm curious if at any point in your career you've considered quitting. And if you did, what made you keep going?
No, I've never considered quitting ever because I love it so much. And it can be difficult if you let your mindset tell you it's difficult. I mean, I'm not going to say this is the easiest thing in the world, but if you are loving what you're doing, then it's not hard. This is just what you go through to get what you want. That's my opinion about it, because people can sit there and waller and say, "Oh, this is so hard and I can't do this." Well, if this is what you really want to do, then it's not hard at all, because you're going to go out there and you're going to find the ways to get around what you want to get done. Go out there and make it happen. That's what you have to do, because no one's going to give anything to you. At least no one's going to give me anything. I don't have nepotism at all as far as this business is concerned. I got to go out there and earn it.
What would you say to other young people out there that are starting in the business and they're looking up to someone like you who's done so much cool work? What advice would you give them about pursuing this dream? I
would say study. That's the most important thing. Know your craft before you try to go out there, because you'll embarrass yourself if you don't.
Yeah.
And then have an attitude of openness, have an attitude of professionalism, but also no arrogance, and listen, because I'm more of a guy who'd rather keep my mouth shut and listen, because I learn that way more, instead of just throwing stuff out there and hoping that someone's going to believe I'm an expert in something. If I don't know, I'd rather just learn about it and listen and keep my mouth shut. But I think most importantly, just say, be easy to work with, be on time, and be prepared. That's pretty much what I can say.
Well, there's a very famous quote about work, and it says, if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're fired.
Well, I like getting to a set early, especially when I'm going on a set anyway, because I like to get the feel of the set. I like to go look around, see what's there.
Yeah. First at craft services.
Get in there, get something to eat, walk around, see what's going on, and then go find my dressing room, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not rushing, running around. I'm not too late. I definitely always ready to be in my costume if it's costume ready. So whenever they call me to set, it's not like, "Oh, he's still getting dressed." No, Isaac's ready.
Yeah.
He's ready to set now.
Well, that's your professional work ethic. And I think that's really impressive,
I think that's what it should be. I mean, I know that every minute of the day on a movie set, money is being spent. And if you want to make the set run as efficiently as possible, make sure you're ready so those dollars aren't spent waiting for you.
Do you have any particular career dreams, things that you really do hope to achieve before you retire?
I'm not going to retire. I'm going to do this as long as I possibly can, because the great thing about the film industry is they need people in all age groups. So as I age from one group to the next, to the next, to the next, I'll just fit into that next role.
That's cool. So do you have any particular goal, though? You don't seem like the kind of guy that's like, I really want to win an Academy Award, but is there something that you just would love to say you've achieved?
I want to play iconic roles that people will remember. I've already done that now, which I'm very thankful for. And I would like to continue to play them. There's certain roles I would like to play that are very sinister and kind of crazy, but, they're also very intelligent, smart, the character similar to Hannibal Lecter would play. He wasn't a crazed killer. He was very cool and calculated and very smart, very subtle, but just one look at him, you just kind of got the creeps. I want to play something like that. Hey, don't get me wrong. If someone said, hey, Isaac, this movie might potentially win you an Academy Award, I'm like, nah, I don't want that. I definitely would say, okay, thank you very much. I'll be more than happy to be in contention to get an Academy Award also. Yes.
So speaking of sinister, what is it like to be the voice of Thanos?
That was fun to get to make that voice up, because I looked at him and I just figured this is what he really should sound like. And it was so much fun playing it, because the bad guy, even though he doesn't consider himself to be a bad guy, his philosophy of what he wants to do is going to help save the universe, because less beings eating up resources is going to be better for all.
Yeah, he's the hero of his own story. Yeah.
Yes, he's a hero. He's trying to save everybody by killing off half the people. That's all he's doing.
Is there any part of you that agrees with that philosophy?
No, there's no part of me as Isaac Singleton Jr. agrees with that philosophy, but Thanos believes it. So that's what I'm talking about. And when I do a role, I'm playing that character, and that character believes it. So that's how I got to play it.
What was one of your favorite things you said as Thanos?
Well, you got to say a lot of fun things. There was one time when Thor threw a hammer at him, because, Mjolnir, that hammer, he threw it at Thanos. It hit him. It bounced off. And Thanos was trying to pick the hammer back up and throw it back at Thor, but he couldn't pick it up, because you got to be worthy of picking it up, I guess. Worthy to wield it. So Thanos said something. So Thanos grabbed Thor by the collar and said, okay, well, if I can't hit you with the hammer, I'm going to hit the hammer with you, and started bashing Thor on the ground, banging him with the hammer. But there was another time when he was attacking, I think it was New York City. I forgot what city it was. It was a city he was attacking here on Earth. And the people are running around screaming and crying. And Thanos is like, you Earthlings annoy me, but your screams of fear and confusion do amuse me. You may continue those. I just thought it was so funny. I love that line. He got to say a lot of good stuff.
Are there any other lines that you've spoken in voiceover that for whatever reason you haven't ever forgotten?
I remember characters, like when I do Sagat, people love that tiger knee move. I mean, and then like Stitches, there's a character on World of Warcraft that I do the voice for him. And he likes to come out and play. So Stitches likes to play. I mean, just different things like that make me happy.
Isaac, if you weren't an actor, what do you think you'd do?
Well, my goal since 8th grade was to work in the commodities market and be a commodities broker. That's what I was planning to do before I became an actor. So I probably would have gone into commodities. But now, still around, and I see maybe I would have been a real estate developer too.
How has COVID affected you personally and your career?
Well, I guess it's correct. It's affected my career because I've missed out on 2 movies I was going to shoot this year so far because you had to shut those down. I guess it's cut down on my actual going out because I spend most of my time inside because there's no reason to leave unless I definitely have someplace I need to go. Because why go out there and maybe get a chance of catching something when you don't need to be outside? Yeah. I guess it cuts down on your social life. So networking face to face isn't as easy as it could have been because, there's not as many events going on. So there's no after parties or whatever to go and mingle and talk to people and work together. So that's probably how it's affected me the most.
Have you been able to see your family during the last 6 months or no?
No, my parents live in Las Vegas. My older sister lives in Florida and my younger brother lives in Las Vegas. So no, we haven't really seen each other.
But you guys get to Zoom or whatever?
Yeah.
I'd like to talk with you a little bit about diversity because obviously it's something that's being spoken about a great deal today and especially in the entertainment business. Have you seen progress on the diversity front in your opinion over the last 20 years? I
would say over the last 20 years, yes, it's become more diverse. That's for sure. It's still got a ways to go, but for the most part, yeah, they are showing a lot more shows now, are getting in people of color, different backgrounds, ethnicities, that kind of thing. So I think that's neat.
Well, and if you could snap your fingers and have the business be run fairly and equal, what would that look like to you? Like, how would you set that up?
You know what? That's kind of a loaded question in my opinion, because fairly and equal. Well, who considers what's fair and what's equal? In whose eyes would that be? Because the way it was running for a while, everybody thought it was fair that way. They didn't have any problem with it. So that was fair to them. But now it's a different situation where now more minorities are like realizing, hey, we're a part of the American fabric also. We're a part of the world fabric. You got to put us more into the films to show the reality of what's going on. Like, like let's just take Westerns, for instance. Back in the 50s, when you'd see those Westerns, almost everybody there is either white or Native American. And unfortunately, I always portrayed the Native Americans as the bad guys when they're really the people that are trying to hold on to their land.
Yeah.
But the people don't realize that a lot of the cowboys back then were black. A lot of the people came from the South and went out west and actually were black.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a whole lot were black. They don't ever show that in the movies from the 50s or so. And even some of our more modern Westerns don't really show it, when they go back to showing what it was like in the 1800s and so. But yeah, a lot of them were black people, but they don't represent them. I mean, even where the Buffalo Soldier was, right?
I believe so. They were black men in the army in regiments. I think were established in the late 1800s up through about the 1950s, right?
Yeah, the Buffalo Soldiers were actually African American men who were in the Union Army, who were out there in the Wild West. And they call them the Buffalo Soldiers because they had that curly hair like a buffalo. That's why they're called the Buffalo Soldiers. They were black men.
I had no idea.
In certain areas of the Wild West, as they called it, in some areas, a third of the cowboys were black men. But they don't portray that in a lot of the movies, but that's the truth.
Wow, I never knew that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, a lot of people, they just assumed everybody in America would be white if you looked at the Old West. You really would, but that's not the way it was.
I want to talk about history for a minute. In your opinion, how do we give minorities and women and things like this, how do we give them more opportunities, especially in the entertainment business, without kind of shifting other people away out to the side? How do we spread that peanut butter across the whole slice of bread for everybody? What do you think is a way we can do that?
Well, I'll answer it this way. That's been going on since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. People have been given jobs because their grandfather or their uncle owned the factory or knew somebody or whatever. So nepotism is something that's been happening since the very beginning. So there's people who have gotten jobs over the years in all kinds of sectors of business, not because they knew what they were doing. And a lot of times they got trained by somebody they were going to be their boss of.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I remember my grandfather telling me he had to train the guy that was going to be his boss. The guy didn't know it. So that just happens anyway. Now, I don't like it when people are bending over backwards and trying to throw somebody in a job just because they're trying to fill a quota, because that's not smart. Because how's it going to help your business grow or even have you put out a great product if you're putting somebody in a position that's not going to be able to do the job for you? So I don't understand that and how that comes about.
I don't either, to be honest.
So I can't speak to that. I just know that I would want the best person for the job. But I also would hate to see it if they think, well, all of a sudden, because somebody is a certain race, well, then that other person can't do it because they're this race. I don't like that either.
Yeah.
But I look at the NFL, for instance, the National Football League. For the longest time, the idiots that were running it were like, oh, black men can't be a quarterback because quarterback is a thinking role. Well, unfortunately, they were stupid because they probably could have had some great football teams out there if they'd let people play the game because they know how to play the game.
For sure.
A lot of asterisks in different places, like in the Hall of Fame for baseball, Hall of Fame for football, back in eras when they weren't letting it be as inclusive because they're too busy telling people what they can't do because of the color of their skin. So that's just sad to me, but that's just the way it was in America. And in many ideas, people still have that idea that it's that way. Some people feel that still, unfortunately, people are still alive that think because you have a certain skin tone, you can or cannot do something.
Well, and this segues into the next thing I was going to ask you about, which of course is the killing of George Floyd and the protest and awareness that this has brought to the country. Even people I talk to who are older than you and I, who lived through the 60s and all that intensity, say that there's something different about the stuff today, that it seems to be even a little more intense, more unrest, more divisiveness. And I want to ask you, because I think obviously, you're a black man, I'm a white man. We've been friends for a long time.
Wait, what?
You didn't know?
This is a gigantic freckle. A big freckle, and that's what that is. Yeah, I'm African-American man.
And a handsome one at that. First of all, I wanted to ask you a multi-part question here. One, have you experienced racism yourself in your lifetime? Two, what I don't understand is people like you and I have been friends for a very long time. I don't ever look at you or any of my other friends from other ethnicities and think about their ethnicity. I just think, oh, it's my friend. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why the world can't seem to get past that. So, some of the world, not the world, but some of the world can't seem to get past that. And I'm just curious if you have any insight as to why that might be or how we can encourage people to be more open. And I do know that you and I are both fortunate that we traveled growing up and we were open to the world. But what is your perspective on the whole thing? Because I'd love to hear it from the mind of a very smart and cool, kind black man.
Okay, yes, I've experienced racism since I was a child, still do. That's just what happens in our country.
What's an example of how you still do today?
Oh, man, I've been pulled over by the police here in LA several times for no reason. I used to get pulled over by the time in Florida all the time for no reason. I would always do the same thing. They'd come creeping alongside of my car with their gun with their hand on their gun. And the questions are like, what are you doing here? Well, I'm driving through to go home. No problem. I had no tail light out, nothing. I got to the point where I just started sticking both my hands out the window because I didn't want to be one to get shot because everyone's scared of me. And my philosophy was, well, if you're afraid of me, then don't pull me over. Just let me go. Don't bother me. I mean, I got pulled over here in Los Angeles one time while I was parked in my car in front of my building.
Oh, wow.
I pulled up, just parked in front of my building. It was like 3:00 in the morning. The police pull up. They shine a light in my car. They're like, driver, get out of the vehicle. Put your hands on your head and turn around. So I'm getting patted down by the police. They're like, what are you doing here? I live here. And now they're, someone's trying to make up a lie. Their eyes are darting back and forth. They're trying to figure out what they're going to say. When they're like, well, did you see that car that just drove by? I'm like, yes. So. And well, we're following a woman home and she's afraid of her husband and your vehicle fits the description of his vehicle. Well, I know that's a lie because the police don't ever show up before domestic problem happens, first of all.
Yeah.
If they're following this woman home, where is she? Because she's definitely not right here, and just silly things like that, and it doesn't make me angry. It just kind of makes me sad that that's still going on in our country to this day. And, the bottom line is, yeah, I've experienced some pretty bad things over the years, but I don't have a chip on my shoulder about it. That's just what I've experienced. And the sad thing about it in the United States, for the longest time, they'd kill somebody and people just shrug it off like, oh, well, it's not me, so who cares? And, and then for the longest time, when it comes to minorities and getting the short end of the stick, when it came to things in our country about getting good education or even getting good jobs or even being killed by the police or somebody, and then they got a slap on the wrist about it, it was always like, oh, well, that's just what happens to you minorities. Just walk it off. You'll be fine. But, people are like, no, we're not walking this off anymore. Come on.
Yeah.
That's not the right way to do. And especially in a country that considers itself mostly Christian, that's kind of sad to kind of let that kind of keep on going.
Oh, I've never understood why people kill in the name of God when there's nowhere in the Bible that it says kill all the black people or kill all the Mexicans or kill the American Indians. It's not there.
Yeah. But, for the longest time, we just like shrug it off like, oh, well, at least it's not us.
Yeah.
But now people who are of all races are getting more enlightened and actually seeing the truth. And they know that this isn't right. And if it's not right in the name of God, I mean, I can't understand when someone could see a bunch of white supremacists and they run over a woman in a protest, and then the leader of your country says, oh, well, there were bad people on both sides. Well, how can you consider the people over here protesting for the rights of all people compared to people who are over here saying, well, all those other people don't matter as long as we get what we want out of everything and you all just sit back and take it.
Yeah.
That's just not even logical.
Do you believe that America is a racist nation or that we're not a racist nation, but we have some racists in the country?
Well, I want to go along the line of saying that America just has some racists in the country. And unfortunately, they bleed over and they teach this crap to their children and their grandchildren. So these generations of people who still feel this way kind of permeate through society. And then it's almost like, when you say there's an apple in a barrel and you've got a rotten apple in a barrel, it kind of taints the whole barrel. Sometimes it's kind of people's ideas, especially with the internet now, because they just spread their filth and lies and hatred out there in the world. And that's what people kind of see, because people always tend to see the negative before they see the positive. So, when you hear one person yelling certain bad things about a whole race of people or something, then you kind of hear it more than you hear somebody saying the nice things, because
right.
We go towards the drama aspect of things. I mean, think about it. When you even drive past a car wreck, you kind of slow down and take a look like, oh, what happened over there?
Yeah.
As opposed to just cars driving fine. So, yeah, I don't think of our country as a racist nation. I think of our country has a lot of great people in it. We've got a lot of great values, but we just have a lot of people who just are very ignorant and very xenophobic and don't understand that just because someone's different doesn't mean that they're wrong.
Well, so that goes into the question I asked earlier, which is, you and I were fortunate enough to grow up with parents who encouraged openness and we traveled and stuff. But for those who haven't grown up that way, how do you think we can reach those people and say, hey, we're not asking you to do anything. We're not asking you to change a whole lot. We're just asking you to be cool with everybody and let everybody live their own life. I try to use this platform, this podcast, to tell great stories about what it means to be human, hopefully encourage people for positivity. And along the way, if I can change one person's mind to not be a racist jerk, to turn around and maybe reconsider being more open. But what do you think? What do you think is a way to reach people?
I'm seeing commercials on television. I've seen a lot of things that are being posted up online that people are trying to be positive. And I think that's wonderful. I'm seeing a lot of things on Instagram where people are trying to be positive. But at the same time, unfortunately, these people, there's just going to be people that are just going to want to be hateful just because they want to be hateful.
Yeah.
There's going to be people out there who want to stir things up and cause divisiveness just because they like the anarchy and they like that kind of stuff, So I don't know. I mean, there's some people you're never going to change. There's just some people you are not going to change their mind about certain things because they like being that way. They like it. They don't want to change. They don't think there's anything wrong with what they're thinking. And that's the sad part about it,
Yeah. Well, how did you feel when the whole George Floyd thing went down?
It felt sad once again. And my thought has always been every time something like that's happened over the years, ever since Rodney King back in 1992.
Yeah.
Those stuff has been happening since before then. I mean, it's been happening for generations, to be honest with you, except for now, 1992. Now we've got technology where people actually whip out their cell phone, or not even, no cell phone in 1992, but like a video camera and actually record it and not be a news person, but actually just some guy recording with his camcorder, catching what really was going on. Because before that, people would just say, oh, he fell down the stairs, or no, we didn't hit him that many times. But that was the first time people actually saw what happened and were able to make their own decision, and then see these guys still get off and get acquitted. That's why people kind of erupted with anger back in 92, because they saw what happened. And still these guys got a slap in the rear. Oh, well, you're okay. It's fine. And that's where I think African Americans feel like for the longest time it's been like, oh, well, just walk it off. You'll be okay. It's just not right. So when I saw what happened to George Floyd, I was saddened once again. And I was hoping it just wasn't going to be another one of those times where, okay, it's going to be in the news cycle for about a week, and then everybody's going to forget about it and be like, okay, next, let's go back to normal life again. Hey, it'll probably happen again, but it's not happening now. So let's just forget about it until the next time. We'll be up in arms, be sad about it for a week, and then be like, okay, black people, walk it off again. You're okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what has been happening over the years. So finally, this time it kind of lingered. People were actually making a movement, and it's all people of all races, not just black people.
Well, that's the thing that was so impressive to me is this was such a combination of fascinating events historically that you have this pandemic that's made everybody be at home for the most part. They're not distracted by work. They're not distracted by the everyday ups and downs of life, and they're all just kind of hanging out. And now this terrible thing happens. We all watch essentially a lynching live on television, and the world just goes, fuck this. Enough. Like we're not going to put up with this anymore. And people get angry and they go out in the streets and they're just, and so the beautiful thing that's come out of COVID to me and all this, and of course it's absolute tragedy that anyone gets killed in that kind of situation. Yeah. But the beautiful thing that's come out of George Floyd is, first of all, he's going to be remembered forever in history as the man that essentially lost his life to help bring the world the kind of awareness it should have had a long time ago. But I think it's really helped people realize, oh my God, this has to stop. We have to change things now. And I'm very encouraged at what the younger people are doing now. And they're, like you said, the millennials and the awareness of these younger children that are going to grow up in a world far more open and accepting than you and I did.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just really sucks the way it has to happen sometimes, that tragedy has to be the thing that makes people have realizations,
Yeah, my only tragedy right now is the part that I don't like about the whole protest is I don't like the fact that they want to do silly things like defund the police. Because if anything, the police need more training and more money because they want their officers going out there servicing their community and understanding what's going on in the community, and they need those funds to kind of train these guys. Because like I said, I know a lot of police officers who pulled me over for no reason. They were afraid of me. And my thing was, if you're afraid of me, then don't pull me over. Just let me go, because I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yep.
But because you've got a badge and a gun, you feel justified in pulling me over for whatever you want to pull me over for. But I think, unfortunately, because some people work in a job like that, and after a while, I think you can get jaded because you're seeing so much crime and so many desperate situations where it's going to affect you as a human being, because most of us as human beings do have some semblance of compassion for others. And if you're constantly being beaten down every single day because people hate you because you wear the badge, because of something happens to their uncle or something you didn't even have anything to do with, but they automatically associate you with negative things. I mean, think about it. Most of the time when you get pulled over, it's not because of a good thing. You're going to get a ticket or something.
Yeah.
They're not pulling you over to give you a citizen's award. Hey, while you're driving great, we want to give you a gift certificate to Carl's Jr. for driving so wonderfully today. No, that's not happening. So when you're having interaction with a police officer, it's because something tragic just happens at your house, or because you're getting pulled over or something like that. So it's not usually, even if you need the police to come out, it's not because you want them to be, because of a happy situation. It's usually something tragic's happened. So these police officers are going to get beaten down by this daily.
Well, no, so wait, let me ask you this. Do you think that in the way we're spending the money with the police, then one of the solutions would be for more mental health training?
That would be another thing. And maybe even hire a division of mental health counselors who can go out there with the police in certain situations, to where they can go out and actually maybe change the situation, the outcome, where the person that ended up dead because they were having some kind of manic break. Because the police are there to protect themselves. And if someone's acting crazy or irrationally, yeah, unfortunately, their thought is, we got to protect society and ourselves. He's got a knife. He's got a bat. We got to shoot him. As opposed to, hey, maybe you can talk him off the ledge. Maybe you can use non-lethal rounds like a beanbag or
how about
something
a taser,
else,
man? Like, why are we not tasing people more than?
That's true. But if a guy's just kind of out of his mind, that's sad. He ends up dead because he had a mental break, Yeah. And I can understand the police are trained to protect themselves first. So they always talk about protect yourself. If he's coming at you, you got to shoot him. He's got to, because if someone's running at you, they can close a distance of 15 feet in a matter of seconds. I mean, milliseconds, really. And you don't want them up on you. So you got to do something to protect yourself. But at the same time, it sucks whenever someone ends up dead because of that.
Yeah.
I can understand, but so the training, the defunding, no, they need to add more funding to give them better tools to work with, and maybe give some mental training, because unfortunately, some people, how us guys are, and there are a lot of female police officers too, but us guys are like, oh, that didn't affect me. I'm macho man. I'm fine. I can take care of myself. But mentally, things can affect you negatively sometimes, and you don't want to talk about it, and you don't want, because you want to seem like you're strong, but things can really mess you up mentally, and you don't want that to affect your life.
Men who try to pretend like they're that stoic and they don't feel things or whatever, it's all nonsense. All human beings are emotional creatures. That's something I've come to realize.
We all are, but then also there's that stigma. Sometimes you have the stigma in certain jobs where you got to be strong and present as a macho, strong guy. And unfortunately, that's what happens sometimes.
Let me ask you this. All the protests that happened and the violence, I was very torn about this, and I still am, because I was live on TV watching the Los Angeles protests, and I was watching them break into the Melrose Max store and just gut the place of all of its computers and all that stuff. And I found myself thinking, part of me feels like I'm not allowed to have an opinion on this because I'm a white guy. Honestly, I'm just being truthful about it. And like, there haven't been a bunch of white people who's had their necks knelt on and treated the way black people have been over the years by police. And so who am I to say you should or shouldn't do something or react a certain way? But the problem is I still look at that and I go, I'm trying to understand the anger as much as I can and be sympathetic. And I want you to take to the streets, and I want you to protest, and I want you to feel all the feelings and all the stuff. But I cannot get behind you destroying other people's property in the name of violence, because at the end of the day, what people don't realize is that from a business perspective, shit rolls downhill, right?
Yeah.
And so you rob a Mac store and you take all the stuff, and then they're going to make an insurance claim. The insurance money is going to pay out the stuff, but the insurance company has to make that money back somehow. So they're going to raise their rates. Well, that insurance company doesn't do just insurance for the Mac store. They do auto insurance and life insurance. And so suddenly when you John Doe, go to get a car, your insurance rates are now going to be $20 more a month across the United States of America because they just had to pay a couple $1 million to help the Mac store who got robbed. And so what people don't realize that it's all connected, And so when you commit these crimes and you do these things, you're not helping George Floyd and his family. You're not protesting and showing, kindness and peace. You're hurting people.
Well, let me put it this way, because that was something I was going to say a few minutes ago. The protests when it comes to looting and smashing up buildings and all that kind of stuff, that had nothing to do with George Floyd at all. That was just people going out there who were going to be mischievous anyway. And they just had an excuse to go out there and do it. I remember when it was happening in Santa Monica where they tore up the REI store, because that's one of my favorite stores. And I was watching it on TV. Yeah. And they were around the store, they were looting a van store. And it wasn't just black people, it was all kinds of people. All races were running in and out of the store, grabbing our bikes, Yeti coolers. I'm sitting there looking at that cooler. I know that cooler. That thing's cost $200-something. I mean, these coolers are $500-something, and they're just dragging it out the store because they're angry, supposedly. A lot of those people that are out there doing those kind of protests, they don't care about George Floyd at all. They just know that they have an opportunity to go out there and do something crazy and maybe get some loot to take back home. I was watching what was happening because people were over there looting those stores, but they had a helicopter view. But around the corner from there was a peaceful protest of people who truly were there for the right reason. They were walking down the street. The police had it cordoned off for them. They were marching. Nobody was doing anything crazy. Nobody was trying to loot anything, nothing like that at all. So it's just a matter of mindset of the people that are out there. And a lot of those people out there could probably care less about George Floyd, no matter what color they were. They were just out there trying to get something for themselves. So I don't like the fact that they try to lump those people in with the peaceful protesters, because they're trying to make the message. They're trying to dilute the message at that point. And then when people try to politicize it, that's when it really gets bad, because then, they try to make it though with the political parties doing this. And I don't like that, especially when they're trying to say the Democrats are like, well, the Democrats are aligned with these looters in Portland.
That's nonsense.
No, they're not. They're not. They're aligned with the people who want to have equal rights for everybody in the country. That's what the Democrats are saying. They're not saying, hey, we just want equal rights for the people who have the money and who run industry and own all these things. And see how they're messing up the businesses because now they're not going to have jobs. No, that's not true. That's not what the whole message was about. I mean, it even goes back to even kneeling at the national anthem. When Colin Kaepernick knelt down the national anthem, he was protesting police violence against black people. All of a sudden, the Trump administration started saying, oh, he's against our troops. That had nothing to do with the troops at all.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with the troops in the least bit. But, people know how to change the narrative, especially when you're in politics. They'll have some pundit back there writing up let's make it seem like he's against our troops. And then all of a sudden you can look like you're the big guy and go out there and say, oh, he's against America because he's kneeling. No, he's kneeling because black men are being killed by the police. Yeah, that's what it was about.
100%.
And they try to change the narrative. It had nothing to do with the troops. So that's what makes me upset when they try to change it around and make it something different and make it something that it wasn't.
When you look to the future, what do you hope happens for minorities, women, and all the people of our planet? What would you, if you could snap your fingers and have the future be whatever you want it to be, what would that look like?
Man, if I could snap my fingers, it would definitely be a utopia. But that's a fairy tale. There's not going to be a utopia until we all get to heaven. You know what I mean?
But I'm saying just short of that, what do you think we could achieve as a species? And what do you hope, let's say 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200 years from now, the world looks like?
I would hope that the world would look like this. They see you. They don't care what color you are. They want to know you as the person that you are inside. What kind of value can you bring to their lives? What kind of value can you bring to theirs? That would be great. Then everybody can work together. I like to go around thinking that way. Now, a lot of people don't feel that way, unfortunately, because I don't look at somebody and say, oh, they're this color, so that's that. That's just not how I feel about it.
Now, I know you're a spiritual man. How much is your faith a part of your belief system and things like this?
I mean, I'm not even a spiritual man. I would just flat out say I'm a Christian. I am a Christian man. I follow Jesus Christ. I believe that he is the Savior. But I'm also a Christian that's not the kind of guy that's pointing at other people and doing that at their religion and saying, oh, you're wrong. I'm not that guy either. I'm not the one telling them that they can't believe the way they believe. I'm not one of those Christians either. I'm the kind of guy that knows what I feel in my heart is true, and that's what I'm following. And that's how I treat other people, and that's how I want to be treated by them.
A do unto others ideology?
Yeah, that along those lines. But, I mean, if even on sets, people see me pray before my meal, and they comment like, you pray? I'm like, yes, I pray. And they look at me like, wow, okay. And I'm like, yeah, you have to, if that's who you are, pray because you're thankful. When I'm on a set, I'm thankful every single day, to be honest with you. I wake up, I'm thankful. I'm waking up thankful. But when I get on a film set, I'm even more thankful because I'm doing what God told me he wanted me to do way back when I was a sophomore in college and I found out I was supposed to be an actor instead of a commodities broker. I'm so thankful when I get the job because I know that they want me to be there. I'm thankful whenever I get on a set and I get to have that meal before we eat. And sometimes they have some great catering and some great food. I love it. I mean, I'm enjoying all of that. And I'm so thankful for it. And I don't mind praying because I'm not embarrassed to. Why would I be? That's who I am. I'm happy. I'm thankful.
Well, one of the glorious things about getting older, I have found, is that as you get into your 40s and your 50s and stuff, I think a lot of people finally say to themselves, man, I'm so tired of trying to be someone I'm not. I'm just going to be myself now. And if people don't like me, then that's fine. They can just go do their own thing and I'll find people that do like me because there's 10 billion people on the planet and I guarantee at least 3 or 4 of them want to be friends with me.
You know what? My parents always taught us, even as youngsters, to be who we are. So I never was one of those guys that fell into peer pressure in high school. And because everybody else is doing it, I did it. Nope, not me. I was always myself, who I was. And if they didn't like it, so what? I liked me. So that was good.
Well, I think it's time to give a huge shout out to your parents. So Mr. and Mrs. Singleton, really nice job because that is a great way to raise someone. That is wonderful.
Yeah, well, they're spectacular people. They sure are. Besides
your family and your friends and your career, what are you most passionate about in life today?
I would think my most passionate things outside of my career is travel. I love to travel. I love seeing new places and I like learning new things. And I love looking at things that you read about or heard about before, but actually going and seeing it in person.
Yeah.
That's what I'm passionate about. Travel is what I'm most passionate about, really.
What was one of your favorite childhood books?
Man, I used to love Curious George.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Also, Where the Wild Things Are was good. And then I used to love those Amelia Bedelia books. Amelia Bedelia was like a maid, and she took things so literally that she would mess up on her job. But what would redeem her is that she would make such great food that they couldn't be mad. So like they'd say, draw the drapes, because the owner didn't want the drape sunlight coming through. Well, Amelia took that literally. So she actually drew a picture of the drapes, silly things like that. Cause she just was like, she didn't get it, but she knew how to cook. I can imagine, my mom was a great cook. She still is. And I can only imagine with Amelia Bedelia. So whenever I would think about Amelia Bedelia, I would think about, yeah, she probably cooks like my mom does. Nobody wants to fire my mom as a cook. No way,
If you had to choose dogs or cats?
Oh, it's definitely a dog. No even argument about that. A dog. Yeah.
When you look back on your life now, have your priorities changed a lot since you were 20, 30, 40?
Man, my priorities probably have changed a little bit because, when I first started out as an actor, man, it was all about the acting. I just wanted to get on set. I wanted to make the money as an actor. I was really thinking about acting. And now I realize I want a balanced life. I do still think about getting a wife someday and maybe being a dad. So my priorities weren't looking for a wife back in the beginning. My priorities were like, you got to make it in the film industry. You got to keep going. You got things you got to do. But now it's like, what the heck? I've got the balance of doing my career, but also have a balance of life now. And I do have
You'd like to share that with someone?
Yeah, I'd like to share. Yeah.
I think you'd be a great dad, man.
That's what I've been told many a times. So I believe that also.
I think you have that gentle giant thing and that guiding with a steady hand, but not overbearing and allowing the child to be who they are. And I think that's very important. Yeah. Well, I'm curious, what do you do with your spare time? What are your hobbies?
I read every single day, at least 15 minutes. And it's always something that's nonfiction. So if I've read about that, I just finished a book on networking as far as networking is concerned. I'm looking at a book. I've been reading a lot of different books. So that's what I do. I mean, I work out because I got to keep in shape because I'm only like an action guy. I definitely got to kind of keep an action body. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, dude, your biceps are bigger than my head.
So, I got to keep myself in shape. So that's another thing I like to do. But I consider it just part of my job as a human being, be in shape, because I want to live a long, I want to live a long, healthy life, not just a long life that's all decrepit. Because if you're, I've known a lot of people who are older and they're like, this isn't really living now. I'm just kind of in a bed breathing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be in that state. So I want to keep my body in good shape and make it last.
Yeah.
I eat right and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I know we've talked about some serious stuff tonight, but I'd like to approach a subject that I think is very important to the two of us, and that is food.
Oh, yes. I have a favorite meal.
Ooh, do tell. What is it?
My favorite meal is Alaskan king crab legs, some drawn butter, nice and melted, broccoli, and some brown rice.
Very nice. And dessert?
Oh, well, dessert would either be cake or pie.
We gotta complete this meal. What flavor?
Well, if it's pie, I would want it to probably be an apple or a nice cherry pie with a lot of cherries in it, though, not just because a lot of cherry pies, they come out with just a lot of that filling, but not cherries, that red.
Yeah.
I want there to be actual cherries in it.
Yeah.
Or, a nice, good apple pie or peach cobbler.
What about cake?
Or even pecan pie.
I do like a pecan pie. What about cake?
Oh, cake. My first cake that pops on my mind is usually a lemon cake with a lemon drizzle on it, like a lemon bundt cake. Those are tasty.
Yeah.
But my mom used to make these pineapple upside down cakes that are spectacular.
Yeah.
And she also made this other cake that she'd make for my birthday sometime, where it would be a layered cake, and it was a yellow cake with pineapples in the middle, like pineapples in the middle of each layer. And then on the outside was this creamy, frothy white icing she'd make that would actually evaporate after a while. And she'd sprinkle coconut on top of that. Man, it was so. But like I said, my mom's an expert cook, so she knows what she's doing.
Isaac, one of my favorite questions to ask on the show is this one. If you could sit down for 4 hours in an old-timey pub somewhere with one person from all of human history, alive or dead, excluding Jesus, Moses, Mohammed, or any other prophet or any other member of your family that you may have lost, who would you sit with? What would you drink? And what would you want to ask them about?
Man, that's a hard question. Because my first thought would have been Jesus. I would have wanted to ask him some questions about what's going on in this world. Why?
Yeah, I had to disqualify that one because everyone kept choosing that. And I wanted to think of someone else.
Okay, well, let me see. Who else would I want to sit down and talk to?
Anybody who you kind of look up to in the world?
Well, I'm taller than most people, so no. No, let me think. I mean, names are popping into my head. I guess I would want to probably talk to Nikola Tesla pops up. I would like to talk to Benjamin Franklin too. People like that. I'd like to talk to these captains of industries that we've had in the past.
Well, Tesla or Ben Franklin, pick one. Which one would be your guy?
I probably want to talk to Tesla more.
All right. So you and Tesla are sitting in the pub. What are you guys going to drink?
I'm probably just going to drink probably just a wine.
Okay.
If it's an old timey one, I'd get a honey mead.
Honey mead it is. And what would you like to ask Nikola Tesla? The first question out of your mouth.
I would probably ask him things like, how would you have done things differently knowing how Alexander Graham Bell was acting at these days? How would you have done things politically differently? Would you have done things politically where you would have gotten your stuff out there better? And because he was trying to get things out there where people could have gotten electricity for free and stuff like that, which was great. So I would have asked him, what mistakes he feared he made and would change and do again.
Okay. Some people say that the things in the world today are the worst they've ever been. And some people like me say the world today is better than it's ever been. Where do you fall?
I would say the world is better as far as technology and communications is concerned. That's what I would say. So I'd say we're living in a much better time because I wouldn't want to live in some of these times that we've had in the past, especially, just with sanitation alone.
Yeah. And agriculture and plumbing.
All that kind of stuff. That's really great that we have it now, the way we have it.
But we talked about the fact that, 1,000 years ago, people were probably having the same philosophical discussions about the meaning of life that we are today. Do you think the world is emotionally better today than it was, or the same? Or?
I think the world is emotionally, well, like you said, people were living back in the day and they had love. They had all these different things they were feeling then that we feel now. At least we have easier ways to communicate, even ways to get around. That's better. News can get traveled a lot better too. Understand what's going on in the world. There's a lot of things that are advances we made in medicine. So yeah, things are better now. But I would say that emotionally, I think in many ways we're probably better emotionally now too, because unfortunately back then, since people just stayed in their own little village. I mean, back then you'd stay in your village your whole life.
Yeah.
And there would be another village, maybe 13 kilometers away that you never even visited.
Yeah.
Or now that's just a little drive down the street. So you just know the girls in the village that you grew up with. Oh, okay, well, I guess I'll marry Susie Lee. She's the only one left.
Well, I mean, just several hundred years ago, if you wanted to cross the ocean, good luck.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a 3 to 5 hour flight, you know? Well, maybe not right now, this very second. But
So, it's just something to think about how people even thought the earth was flat back then. You might fall off the earth if you were on a boat.
Oh, man, flat earthers. Okay, I should get one of them on the show. That would be fun. Isaac, if you could continue to live a healthy life, how long do you think you'd ideally like to live?
Probably 120. That would be good.
A good elf age, right?
Yeah, about 120. That sounds good to me. If I'm walking around, still got my mind and everything going, still working out, skin's in good condition, all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Are you afraid of dying?
No, I'm not afraid of it. It's just kind of weird, the unknown, but I'm not afraid of dying, but I don't want to die.
What do you think happens after we die?
I believe that I'm walking around wearing this meat suit and I'm a spirit talking to you. I talk through this body.
Yeah.
I believe that I've been into heaven with the Lord. Yeah.
If you could tell your younger self anything, go back in time to when you were maybe 15 or 20 years old, what would you tell yourself?
About what? There's so many different things to talk about.
You guys got to pick one, brother.
Okay. I would say just be more proactive and more decisive in things. I would probably tell myself that.
And buy Apple stock.
Mm-hmm. I'd grab myself by the collar and say, plastics.
Isaac Singleton, what do you think is the purpose of art?
The purpose of art is to get people to think about things and enjoy the life that they're living. But I think the purpose about art is really, whether it's a painting or a movie or whatever, it's to open your mind up to different possibilities and just think about stuff. I really think that's what it's about. To make you feel something.
What's your spirit animal?
Kodiak brown bear.
Why is that?
Because I resonate with that animal. It's a gigantic animal. Have you ever seen it before?
I have.
Yeah, they've got a couple down in San Diego at the zoo, but they're gigantic. And up in Alaska, they're up there in the Kodiak Island. They grow to be 10 feet tall and they're standing on their hind legs. They've got the strength to smack a horse's head off its body with one swipe. And they're just a very powerful animal. But it's also can be a very solitary animal. And I am kind of like that in many ways, too. I'm a solitary guy a lot of times. So I just see myself resonating with that animal for some reason.
Have you ever smacked the head off a horse? I just have to ask.
No, I didn't. It was a donkey, not a horse. I've never smacked a horse. No.
You're supposed to say, no, it was a donkey, not a horse. And he was delicious.
Oh, he was delicious, was he?
Isaac, the last thing we do on the show is a little game I have called 299 Philosophical and Life Questions with Moonbird. I've collected 299 philosophical and life questions into a spreadsheet. Every guest gets to pick 2 random numbers. I ask those 2 questions, and you get to answer those questions live on air. So what are your 2 numbers from 1 to 299?
I would say number 4 and number 8.
Number 4 and number 8. Okay, scrolling. Please hold. Number 4. What's your favorite fast food restaurant and menu item?
I don't really eat fast food. I really don't. I mean, I guess I'll say Chipotle.
Okay.
That's fast food because it's good and healthy. If I'm eating fast food, it's going to be something healthy like Chipotle. And I'm usually getting that chicken bowl, so it's like got some rice at the bottom, some chicken, and a lot of the good fixings on there.
Okay. Number 8, your bedroom, your car, your desk. Which one of those would you clean first if you had to, and why?
But the bedroom's not that dirty. I guess I would probably just have to clean my car because that's probably what I drive around with the most. That's out there, and I want people to be presentable when I drive up someplace. So yeah, probably my car.
Do you have any final words for our listeners out there about life?
I would say continue to collect knowledge and learn as much as possible. Be open-minded to all, and bring a positivity to the world, not negativity. That's what I would say.
Isaac C. Singleton Jr., thank you so much for being on the show today. It's really great to see you, my friend, and I wish you nothing but the best in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Friends and listeners, if you'd like to follow Isaac Singleton Jr. online, his social media is Isaac Singleton Jr. That's ISAACSINGLETONJR, Isaac Singleton Jr. And while you're out there looking at Isaac's cool stuff on social media and helping spread his happiness, positivity, and joy, spread some joy over to Moonbird by going to patreon.com/Moonbird and support the show. Even $1 helps us keep this awesome podcast going. And if you'd like even more Moonbird in your life, and hey, who wouldn't, head on over to memoriesofamoonbird.com or visit me on social media at Memories of a Moonbird. Stay safe.